it is up to us individually to be able to step back and decide what it is that we need to do in our lives to make sure that we are happy at least 82% of the time.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
All right, folks, full disclosure, the name, the title of the podcast today is How to Be a Happy Appraiser. I'm just going to lay it out there, folks, because, well, the truth is this could be called How to Be a Happy Person. I want to pause and remind you that we are sponsored by some great companies out there. Of course, a la mode. A la mode is the leader in appraisal writing software. It's the leader because, well, they're the best. Check them out. Go to alamode.com, or you can pick up the phone and call them at 800-ALAMODE. Of course, we are sponsored by a great company called OREP. OREP Insurance is the E&O that I use and love working with. You will too. It's orep.org. That's O-R-E-P, orep.org. All right, folks. Well, let's face it. It's a challenge out there. It's difficult out there. Volume has slowed down just a titch. All right, a lot. They say that mortgage applications, as of this recording, are down about 80%, give or take. It changes and fluctuates daily, but that's a lot. That means for every 10 mortgages that were being done before, do the math. That means that 8 of them are out the window and 2 of them remain. That can be a challenge. That can be difficult. And you've heard me say it here before that over the last couple of years, it did not take much. I'm sorry to say it, folks. Those of you who are breaking your arms, patting yourself on the back from behind to say, "Hey, you sure are a great business owner, Dustin. Boy, you've sure killed it. Look what you're doing. Man, good job. You've got more work than you can handle. You must be doing something right." Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, folks. Over the last couple of years, if you had a pulse and an active license, you were probably pretty darn busy. In fact, I know you were busy. There really didn't have to be much innovation being done there, much good entrepreneurship being done there, and that was just a fact. That's just the way things were for a while. Things have changed. Beginning about 2022, things have slowed down just a titch, and it's a little bit scary. I've spent a lot of time right now doing some private coaching, and a lot of my private coaching is private cheerleading, and that's okay. We need that, right? We need people on our team. We need people on the sidelines, in a skirt, jumping up and down and saying "rah rah ree," kick him in the knee, "rah rah ras," kick him in the other knee. And we need that encouragement to push us forward when things slow down. Well, things have slowed down, and it can take a toll on your mental capacity for sure. That is reality, folks. That's what happens, right? Especially when it comes to finances. When you're dealing with your finances, folks, when you're dealing with your ability to be able to pay your bills, I'm telling you, not much else can get you down quicker than that. Maybe relationships. But even that, is sometimes and often related to this whole financial thing that we have to deal with on a daily basis, right? We have a monthly nut that we've got to crack. We have mortgages, we have car payments, we have groceries we've got to buy. Inflation is up. One of the reasons interest rates are up as well. Inflation is up, and consequently, it can truly be a challenge to stay on top of things. My heart goes out to you, folks. It's not easy. It is a challenge. It is difficult. We wake up every day and wonder if we're going to have more orders. Do we spend time marketing? Do we clean up our SOPs? Do we fire somebody because we don't have the ability to make payroll anymore? Folks, I get it. I really do. I've been in this business 27, 28 years now. And well, it's got its ups and downs. We talk about the cyclical market, the roller coaster, if you will. I was on a coaching call this morning, talking with an individual, and I said, "Do you still have your trainee?" And he said, "Yeah, I've got my trainee." And I said, "Well, how's she doing?" And he said, "Well, she's obviously would like more work. She's kind of on hold right now. I really can't give anything to her. I have to kind of keep everything to myself. But when she hired on with me, I told her, I said, this is a roller coaster. And right now we're right. You're getting in when it's high, right? You're getting in when the roller coaster is right on top and it feels good and it's exhilarating. Just know that the roller coasters are not fun if they go straight, right? That's not fun. It's the ups and downs that make it fun. And with every up comes a down. You got to have that down. You got to have that downturn. And now she's experiencing it. And each of us are we're all going through this process of experiencing what it's like to be on that other side of the aisle, to be on that slow time. Now, what do you do with that? Well, again, that's up to you. There's a lot of things that we can be doing right now, right? We can be working on our standard operating procedures, on our procedural manuals, on tightening up our procedures and making sure that we're as efficient and as effective as we possibly can. We can be building our relationships with our local lenders, with those that we already have relationships with, and with those that we've never developed a relationship with. And I know you're saying, well, Dustin, I reached out to them. They said they're slow. That's not what I said. I didn't say go to them and ask for business. I said develop and foster those relationships. Those things long term will pay off, right? And if that's the only reason you're doing it, folks, I can tell you it will come back to bite you. Foster those relationships because it's the right thing to do, and maybe some orders will come along the way. There's some things that we can do with our personnel, with our human resources, with our technology. There's things we can tweak. But folks, you get to the point. Let's just be honest. You get to the point that it's you're kind of at your rope's end. You're kind of at your road's end. You're kind of at this what feels like a dead end. And with that comes this depression, if you will, comes this fear, sadness, longing for the way it used to be or the way that you wish it was, right? Again, and I've said this before on this microphone, and I will continue to repeat it because it's the truth. You have control over the macro only to an extent, right? Which is very, very little. Macroeconomics and what goes on a macro level is very out of our control. You cannot tomorrow waltz in and decide what the interest rates are going to be, and thus, the volume that might be, coming back your direction. You, on a very limited basis, can decide what it's like, if you will, to change things on a level of volume, to change things on a level of modernization, right? Fannie Mae has announced multiple times and reemphasized it multiple times that they want to modernize the appraisal industry. Now, folks, I am a strong advocate of you being an advocate, right? I'm a strong advocate of you reaching out and being a part of the advocacy for good, right? I'm a huge advocate of you being involved as much as you possibly can on your own level, right? Talk to your congressman, talk to your decision makers, get involved when they reach out and say, what do you have to share? What's your opinion on this modernization process or the racial bias thing, or whatever it is? Get involved. But let's be honest, right? Your vote counts, but it's one vote. Your voice is heard, but that doesn't mean it's going to change policy. And so on a macro level, there's only so much we can do, which leads us then to naturally feel a little bit helpless, to want to control what's going on, but knowing that control is probably a little bit out of your hands, a lot out of your hands, right? Now let's talk about the micro environment, your immediate surroundings, the ability for you to be able to control what is going on in your sphere. With that comes much more control, right? The fact that you can decide right now to pick up the phone and call a lender and talk to that lender is your choice. Now, whether it does any good or not, you have no control over that. But you do have control over what you do on a day-to-day basis. And I guarantee, folks, I promise you this, because as a coach, I see it daily. Those that are busy and reaching out and doing the hard work that's involved in relationships, networking, being the squeaky wheel, if you will, those things are paying off. Now, they don't pay off as much as they have in the past because there's only so much work to go around. That's fact, right? That is an event. I'm going to talk about events here in just a little bit. That's an event. And you don't have a lot of control over that event, but there's other things that you do have control over. Remember, the title of the podcast today is How to Be a Happy Appraiser. Now, I know the first part of this podcast has been a little bit depressing because I'm laying out realism, folks. I'm laying out what's going on. I'm laying out what is true. And now it's time to take it to the other level. Right now, it's time to decide where we go from here. I want to share with you some ideas on how to be a happy appraiser, how to be a happy person, right? These are real life things. I'm not going to give you platitudes. I'm going to give you real life solution recipes for success when it comes to being a happy appraiser, because a lot of you aren't too happy right now. I'll tell you what will make you happy, and that is an E&O company that has your back. OREP, folks. OREP is the company that I use. It's the company I suggest that you use. It's an amazing company. OREP, folks. You have to have anyway, right? I mean, I know you don't have to, but you should, right? Why not go with the very best company? It's orep.org. That's OREP.org. A la mode. A la mode, of course, is the software that leads all softwares when it comes to, is that a term, softwares? Probably not. Leads all software when it comes to report writing for appraisers. Why? Well, folks, it's the best. They have built-in tools for mobile. They have built-in plugins that will allow you to upload reports. They have the ability to be able to detach inside on your screens the addendum and the grid. It's absolutely amazing. Check them out. Go to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair. If you're on YouTube, you can see the podcast chair behind me. So I'm not lying; it's there. I sit on it. And welcome back. So we're talking today about how to be a happy appraiser. What does that mean? Well, it can mean a lot of different things, right? I am absolutely convinced, however. Now, let me start with this, right? Well, let me finish my sentence. I get off in the weeds too quickly. I am 100% convinced, folks, that you cannot, it is impossible to have a 100% happy day every day, right? It's one of the reasons I talk about the 82% rule. The 82% rule can be applied to a lot of different things. But if you find yourself that 82% of the time or more that you are depressed, that you are angry, that you are sad, that you are scared, it might be time to make a change. Okay, that doesn't mean that it's time to quit and move on. That means it's time to make a change. Whatever that change is, that may be a change in attitude. It may be a change in position. It may be a change in what you do day to day. It may be a change in your sleep schedule or your diet or your exercise or relationships, whatever it is, right? But it is up to us individually to be able to step back and decide what it is that we need to do in our lives to make sure that we are happy at least 82% of the time. Okay, that gives, of course, 18% of the time that we can, well, be human, that we can have that roller coaster. You can't have the ups if you don't have the downs, right? That's not just true with business. It's true with people. It's true with attitudes. It's true with our personalities. Okay, all right. That being said, the title of this podcast, of course, is How to Be a Happy Appraiser. I hope you have your pen and paper out. I'm being serious. This is an actual formula. I don't know if it's scientific. I assume there's models out there that probably test what I'm about to say. Again, this is not a model that I can point to and say, okay, I got it from here. I assume I didn't make it up. I assume, I read so many books and listen to so many podcasts and self-help stuff. This is probably something I've jumbled together over, several different gurus sharing different things, but mostly this is my formula for success simply because I've used it. right? This is experience for me. This is me, trying different things in my life and finding some things work and some things don't, right? Let me give you a hint before we get into the recipe, and say to you that how to be a happy appraiser is a design. It's a choice. It is something that I think a lot of us step back and we have things happen to us, and then we tend to, whether we say it out loud or just subconsciously think it in our brain, we had that happen to us. We didn't have a choice, right? There was nothing we could have done differently in that situation. Folks, I am here to tell you that there are times when that is true, but I would say most of the time when we think that it's not our fault, we're probably wrong. Meaning there's probably more that we can/should do about our attitudes than we are giving ourselves credit for. Okay, so here it goes. Here's the recipe, right? By the way, I'm just going to lay it out there, and then I'm going to go back and describe it. So the recipe is this. It is, and I alluded to this earlier about event. We're going to start with an event. So an event happens, a thought occurs, speech, action, repeat. Okay, again, event, thought, speech, action, repeat. One more time. Event, thought, speech, action, repeat. Okay, let's dive into this. What does this mean? Folks, I think I've lived long enough to know that, pardon my French, shit happens. Okay, things happen. Sorry, I should have given you a little bit more warning to cover those 2-year-old ears. I apologize. Crap happens. Things happen, right? Stuff hits the fan, as they say. Things occur every single day that are outside our control, right? The one that we started with today is the volume, right? There are certain things you can control on a micro level. We've already established there's other things that on a macro level you cannot control, right? You cannot control interest rates. That is an event. Events happen. Events happen in the sense that your 20 appraisals a week is now 8, right? Maybe you were used to doing 1 a day. Now it's more like a half a day. Okay. Whatever the case may be, you're in a different situation because, and when I say event, it doesn't have to be singular. Okay. It can be plural as well. Events, if you will. Events have occurred, which basically have put this situation in front of us as appraisers that, I mean, let's be honest, it sucks, right? And we can get up every day and we can say, man, this sucks. And gee, I wish things were different. Or we can do something different. So number one, event. You have no control over or very little control over, or maybe you have complete control over, but events happen. Step number 2, thoughts. What does that mean, Dustin? Well, when an event happens, you're going to be forced to think about it, okay? Now, that thought can lead several different ways. That thought can lead to positivity or negativity. It depends on you. That thought, honestly, folks, is a T in the road. You're driving down the road, an event happens, you can turn right, you can turn left. It's up to you. You make that decision. And what that decision is solely in your control. Events are not always in your control. Thoughts always are. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, Dustin, I mean, your 3-year-old kid runs out in the middle of the road and gets hit by a car. You're telling me you have a choice to be positive about that? Well, okay, folks, not maybe in the second it happens, right? But in the way that we, and I'm speaking a little bit out of my ass here, right? I've never had a 3-year-old run out into the road and get hit by a car. I know that stuff happens. And if something like that tragically has happened to you, my heart goes out to you, but I don't think it changes my recipe. My recipe is that the general thoughts surrounding an event are in your control to an extent, okay? I'm not saying that you're not going to wake up with a bad day. I'm not going to say that there's not clinical depression where you literally, because of chemicals going on in your body, have no control over depression. I get that happens, okay? But in general, we're talking about things that happen to us, okay, low volume, and the way that we choose to think about them, okay, that is a choice, which leads, of course, to the next step, which is speech. By speech, I mean how we speak about those things. Now, this might be several different things. When I talk about speech, I'm talking about, yes, conversations that you have with colleagues. I'm talking about conversations you have with your significant other, with your children, with your mom and dad, with those around you. I'm also talking about the speech that you might have online, okay, the way that you react to social media posts, or the way that you put your own social media posts out there. That's all part of talking about it, speech, if you will, okay? And I'm even talking about how you talk about it with yourself. Now, I know that kind of molds with and blends with the thought process, but folks, I'm telling you, we tell ourselves a story. There's thoughts, and then we start to talk about them to ourselves. So maybe that's just me, maybe that's the schizophrenic in me, I don't know. But sometimes even out loud. I'm driving down the road, I'm all by myself, I won't do it with someone else, but I might talk to myself and say, okay, Dustin, here you go, what's going on here, and let's talk through this together. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit weird that way. It doesn't happen very often, but once in a while. Okay, the way that we talk to our higher power, right? That's speech. The way that we talk to anyone or anything is included in this speech. So we've got event, not in our control. Thoughts, absolutely in our control. Speech comes out of thoughts. Okay. Now, this is typically what happens. The next step, as I've already revealed, is actions. What do you do about it? Folks, let me say something that I think is profound. I really do. And I want you to internalize it. It seems like, okay, Captain Obvious coming in here, right? But I think this is important to remember. Events, no control. Thoughts, absolutely control. Speech, absolutely you have control. Action comes from the previous two. Let me repeat that. Action, the things that we do, directly stem from our thoughts and our speech. Think about it. In every aspect of your life, right? The way that you think about things, the things that you dwell on, and thus then the things that you choose to speak about now becomes those things that you do. Okay? Now, so far I've given you 4 ingredients to this recipe. I've given you events, thoughts, speech, and action. 4. 1/4 of that, one piece of the pie, 1/4, 25% of that is the event itself. Think about that. 25% of your ability to be happy comes down to something that's out of your control. And I would even say you have some control over events even, right? A lot of the events, the things that happen to us have to do with those other steps anyway, right? It's a cyclical thing. Events happen, thoughts occur, speech happens, and then that leads to action. And then, of course, the last one is repeat. So let's put it all together, folks. What does this mean? Well, it means you don't have a lot of choice over what's happening to you, but you sure have a hell of a lot of choice over how you react to it. And it starts with your thoughts, and it leads to your speech, and it goes to your actions. Folks, I'll tell you where this episode came from. It came from 2 places. Number one, I already alluded to. I'm doing a lot of coaching right now where it's my job to be the therapist, if you will, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. That's my job, right? I have no problem listening to and giving you some encouragement. Now, to me, it's going to be action oriented. Okay, I'm not just going, hey, you need to think better about that, Joan. It's going to be more like, let's talk about that. Let's see what we can do to change that. Okay, so there's that side. But the other side of this is not just about encouragement and about what I'm doing on my private coaching, but it's what I'm seeing online. It's what I'm seeing when I talk to other appraisers. It's the amount of depression, difficulty, fear, anxiety that's going on right now because of the low volume, folks. And I felt like it was my duty, if you will, but really my joy to be here and to come here and say, you know what, folks, we can't help what's going on a major level, but we absolutely can affect our speech, our thoughts, our actions. And then the last step in there, the last part of that recipe is repeating, right? Now, here's what's happening with a lot of appraisers. Low volume, negative thoughts, negative speech, no action or negative action. Okay. What I mean by no action, I see a lot of appraisers sitting back and going, oh my hell, when's this going to change? My gosh, what's going to happen here? Instead of making things happen for themselves, right? Now, the opposite of that can be true. The event is still the same. That's not changed. Positive thoughts, positive speech, positive action, and then repeat that cycle. where would you rather be? I can tell you, if it's me, I would rather be in the positive side of that. So that's it, folks. That's how you become a happy appraiser. Continue to listen for more great tips and tricks here on the Appraiser Coach podcast. Folks, again, if you're listening to this, I ask you to go over to the YouTube channel. Check us out. We're on video now on the YouTube channel. Super excited to be there. You can see how the sausage is made behind the scenes. Thank you for joining me, folks, and go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.